Oh. Hey, Kristen, how are you this afternoon?
Hey Judy, I'm well, thank you.
Great. We're here today to kick off the Meet the Trainer series. And this is a series that we're going to use, I think, both as sort of getting the word out about positive reinforcement training, but also as just letting people know who we are when they go to our websites or go to the website for our new marketing collaborative called Leap.
Mhm.
Um, so, what I want to do is just give you an opportunity to talk about yourself and tell people who you are as a trainer. Maybe we can start with how did you get started in dog training?
Yeah. So I got started my first dog ever. I didn't grow up with dogs. I've always wanted a dog. My first dog ever, I just walked into a shelter and picked the cutest little puppy that I saw.
Oh
Um,
boy.
yes, no experience raising a dog before, didn't know anything, walked out with this puppy, not knowing what to do. Um, Sort of long story short, she ended up I took her to a veterinary behaviorist because she was having some pretty serious behavioral issues. Um, and long story short, she was sort of diagnosed, if you will, with fearful aggression. So
Oh wow.
she had bit me a few times, and like I said, first time dog owner, I was way over my head, and I did actually end up bring her back to the shelter because I just wasn't feeling comfortable with it. So that was my first foray into the dog world. It was incredibly heartbreaking. I was sobbing, dropping her off that
Oh,
day that I had to bring her back.
absolutely. I can't,
Um,
I can't imagine how you ever decided to even go forward from there.
yeah, I mean, so my business, like the logo that is for my business, it is a representation of her. Her name was Lexi
Oh, that's
because
sweet.
ever since that experience, I just left it not only heartbroken, but just feeling like I just don't understand. Like I don't understand what I could have done for her. There's so much I need to learn. Um, and also in that experience, I did hire trainers. Like I said, I took her to a behaviorist, but in trying to research trainers, I also just felt so lost. I was like, I don't really know how to tell like who can help me. I don't really know what the right way to go is. I obviously hired some trainers and would try some things and they would sort of seem to work. And sometimes they really didn't. I had some people telling me to use, aversives on her. So there's just so much information out there and it was so confusing
It's
to me.
hard.
I just didn't know what the right answer was. So, from there, after that, I decided to start working in a shelter, not working, volunteering in a shelter. Um, and this shelter that I volunteered at, they had a behavioral team, and the purpose of that team was we had a behaviorist that would create training plans for dogs in the shelter that had some challenging behavioral issues, and our goal was to work with them and try to see if we could help them to make them a bit more adoptable. And I learned a lot in
That's great.
those
Yeah.
experiences because there were some pretty challenging dogs.
Oh, yeah.
So that was sort of like my next step was like, I just want to understand dogs better. And I figured, volunteering at a shelter, I'd get to work with, a lot of different dogs, which I did. Um, but then from there, I felt like I I wanted to be in a place where I could help people that sort of felt like I did when I had Lexi, as in I don't know who to go to and I don't know what's right, what's wrong, or what's actually going to help, what's going to be do more harm. Um, and that's actually when I chatted with you, Judy, because I was
I
starting
remember.
to look into, how can I start helping people. So that's when I started sort of interning for you, helped with the puppy socialization groups and the group training classes and learning that in addition to understanding dogs, dog behavior, and how to teach them, you also really have to learn how to teach humans.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Dog trainer is kind of a misguided word, isn't it?
Yes.
It's,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. So there was that.
human and dog teacher.
Yes. Yes. No, it's true. I mean, so that was like that working with you really opened my eyes to, if I go that route, I'm not just going to be doing hands-on training with dogs. I have to take, the other end of the leash into consideration too. But also where you really helped me was your guidance in like the path forward to becoming a trainer. Because the other tough part about dog training is that there's many different paths you can take to get educated,
Hmm.
to be a dog trainer. So you recommended KPA, and I looked into that a lot more and decided that sounded like a wonderful program to
It
enroll
is.
and take. So I ended up doing the KPA program, got my certification through Karen Pryor Academy. That's what KPA is. And it was a wonderful experience. Emma Parsons was my instructor. And
Oh, she's great, isn't she?
yes, she's great. And learned so much. So that's sort of like that's like a long story, but that's sort of like the inception of me on this journey and then KPA and then I decided to create my own very small training business, taking on some private clients, and I continue to work for you and teach classes for you at Proper Paws, which I absolutely love. So that's sort of me so
Um,
far.
that's great. And so tell me what's your specialty? What do you want to have people know when they get out of one of your classes or one of your, you know, private sessions?
Yeah, yeah. So I think that the way I would describe it, so I don't know that I would say I have a specialty like I specialize in reactivity or I specialize as a pet dog trainer, although those are both things that I have experience in. But I think what it all really comes down to is communicating and understanding your dog, which is something with my own personal dogs that I have had to learn. I I have a Whippet who's 3, and I have a Lab now who's a year and a half, and they are completely different dogs, like in every single way. My Whippet's white, my Lab is black, my Lab's a little bit of a chonk, and my Whippet's skinny. My Whippet is a very sensitive soul, and my Lab, while sensitive, is a little less so. But I think that what I have found is that whatever issue that you're trying to work on, or whatever goals you have. It doesn't have to be an issue. Maybe you just want to pass the CGC. Um, it's really understanding your dog and how to communicate with them and having that kind of two-way communication and really making it a true relationship where you're understanding the feedback that they're kind of indicating to you, taking that information and adjusting is really what I'm passionate about, trying to
That's
understand
great.
them.
That's
So
great. I was just going to say it's about building a relationship, isn't it?
it really is. It really,
It
truly
is.
is a relationship. Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, this old school, I'm very long in the tooth when we're talking about training. And, you know, it used to be tell your dog what to do and make them do it. And that's not the way we approach things anymore. It
Yeah.
really is about knowing your dog well enough to communicate with them and getting them to want to be with you and want to do the things that you need them to do, right?
Yes, absolutely. No, and I mean, you know, in navigating that, because no one's perfect, there's still like Riley is pretty new to me. And I'm learning more about her and we're developing our relationship more right now. And, there's still times where there's like points of tension. And I take note of that between us. And I always want people to know that it just feels better when you two are working together and kind of walking side by side rather than like bumping heads.
Yep.
Um, And usually when, you will bump heads sometimes. And when you do, it's sort of like, okay, well, need to think about maybe what I could do a little bit differently. Let's see how we could adjust. So I usually take that as information, but feels so much better to walk along together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
True of any relationship.
Yes.
And I like the way you put it. You bumping heads, true of any relationship, you have to step back and say, oh, wait, this didn't work very well. Of course,
Yeah.
my dog is not happy. He's on the other side of the door.
How dare you?
How dare he shut the door in our face? So you are getting ready to teach a class for me, and I appreciate that. I really wanted to expand my program to include nights and weekends.
Mhm.
And so Kristen has kindly offered to teach a level 2 class on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. This is all new for us.
Yes,
Um,
I'm excited though.
yeah, getting back into the group class environment because you've been doing a lot of privates
Yes.
recently, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm excited. Thank you, Judy.
So I think, do you have anything else that you want to tell people?
Um, I want to say about group classes, that's a great place to work with your dog. I continue to take group classes with my dogs. And it's always a great place not only to learn, but to sort of strengthen any behaviors that you've already taught your dog. So definitely come on by. I love group classes. I love working with multiple people at a time, multiple people and dogs at a time. So
That's great. And she always gets great reviews. She does. She gets
you'll
better
make me
reviews
blush.
than I do sometimes.
No.
Yes, you do. So thank you very much, Kristen. And stay tuned for our next Meet the Trainer.